Hello, welcome to Cooking with Cathy. I'm Cathy Witt from Holy Cross Health. This is part of our diabetes prevention program, and it is National Diabetes Month. So we're bringing awareness to the fact that there is an epidemic and 37 million people have diabetes and 96 million have a condition called prediabetes, and those numbers continue to increase. This week, Holy Cross is offering tips and resources to help you if you are interested in learning more. Tonight I'm making Three Sisters stew. It's a Native American inspired dish. My ingredients are onion, and I'm putting this in a pan with about a tablespoon of olive oil. And this recipe feeds a lot of people. So tonight I'm cutting it in half. So when you see it on the YouTube channel, realize it's the full recipe. So that was a small onion. I'm putting in a small bell pepper, and I'm just sauteing it for a few minutes. And finally, 1.5 medium-sized zucchini. So I'm going to saute this for a little bit. And while that's sauteing, I'm going to try to multitask here. Tonight, I'm also making a pumpkin pudding. So I'm going to start setting that up while this sauteing. For the pumpkin pudding, probably going to get confused. Don't put your pumpkin pudding in the Three Sisters stew. For the pumpkin pudding, I have cinnamon, so a tablespoon of cinnamon, rather a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then I have cloves and ginger. So about a 1/4 teaspoon of the ginger and the cloves. I'm going to mix up my spices and then a dash of salt. I already put the salt in with the cloves, etc. So I'm going to combine those spices, and I'll give a little stir here to my zucchini, my onions and pepper, 2 spoons. And now to this, I'll put my pumpkin in a larger bowl. Pumpkin in a larger bowl. Let me get this out of your way. Okay, I'll add 2 eggs. Give them a little bit of a scramble. And then I'll add some. So it's not super sweet. It doesn't have a crust, so it's good if you're watching your carbs. 1/4 cup of maple syrup. And then I add my spices. Stir that. And then lastly, I'm going to add evaporated milk. Make sure you shake that up really well. Another stir over here. All right, so I'll add that. I've set it really well. You guys can see it, I hope. This I'm not going to hold up because it will spill. You've seen me spill things before. So it's nice to have a pumpkin dish that's not going to add a lot of calories. Our participants in the diabetes prevention program ask us all the time for desserts that are not so unhealthy, but of course you want it to taste good. All right, I have that nice and mixed up. I'm gonna mix up my vegetables one more time. I'm going to add now to the vegetables, tomatoes, and remember, you're going to double this if you're doing the full recipe. I will keep reminding you. Let me just mix that in. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic. So from Trader Joe's. This makes it a little easier. I save a step. I don't have to mince garlic. I like to show you easy things that are quick, especially if you're working and you come home and you have to figure out what you're doing for dinner. You can have something that you can set up relatively quickly. It's very helpful. All right, back to the pumpkin pudding. I like to use parchment paper, even if it's a nonstick pan. I gave it a little spray with avocado oil. The only ingredient is avocado oil. All right, and I'll put that in. A lot of good spices, the ginger, the cloves, the cinnamon, and the maple syrup. And that goes in the oven for 30 minutes at 350. All right, I am adding 1 can of kidney beans. Stirring it up. And then a can of pintos. And they're drained, if you want to, if you don't have low sodium, you can rinse the beans and that will decrease the sodium. I'm only putting in half a can of the corn. If you are watching carbs, you can decrease the corn, you can increase the vegetables. You kind of can be really creative with this because it doesn't have to be exact. All right, your spices. So I have 1.5 tablespoons of red chili powder. And here I have thyme and oregano, salt, and pepper. There's about, so the recipe calls for half a teaspoon of the thyme and like 3/4 teaspoon of the oregano. So I just cut that a little bit. But again, if you want to add more, if you like thyme and oregano, you certainly could add more. And then you can add a little red pepper, red chili flakes if you like it a little more spicy. So I'm going to let this simmer for a little bit. And it's done pretty quickly. So I'm hoping, let me put that in a little bowl for you. Grab this one. So you can see what that looks like. Oh, and you can, if you're not watching your carbs, you can serve that over rice, or you want to increase the protein, you can serve that over quinoa. All right, let me grab the pudding. All right, I'm grabbing, look at how fast. No, that's usually 30 minutes, but you know, I made it ahead of time. So that is Three Sisters stew and pumpkin pudding. I like to serve this in a little dessert cup, and you can even add a little dollop of whipped cream. I'm happy to take your questions.